Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, November 29th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are Hierophant in its reversal, Magician in its upright. If this card looks familiar, it's because we had the Hierophant in its reversal as our final card just a couple of days ago. Let's talk about it. It's a lot of unpacking here. This is some of this retrograde energy. We're going to go through this right now. This retrograde energy, it's a lot of this stopping and starting. It's a lot of this moving forward, moving backwards. But what's really important to identify and recognize, this is literally the retrograde articulating what its job is. The retrograde's job, I know I've said this repeatedly, is not to confound things. It is when we slow things down that we find new ways of doing things, right? It's in that space in between that allows for the pathwork of innovation. It has to deal with, right? And this is why these retrogrades can feel so frustrating, because often we get really frustrated during them. We feel moments of stagnation. We feel moments of stillness. Now, the important thing when navigating spaces of stillness is not to allow yourself to feel confounded, not to allow yourself to feel like you're energetically giving up. When one looks at the aspect of time as a precious gift and a commodity, and you're working on a pathwork of purpose, then when you hit a moment of stillness, you don't get frustrated. You don't feel that like animosity at the time, specifically because you have something that you want to do with it. So embracing those opportunities right now, and specifically today, will be very helpful, will be very positive and productive, because we see even now a little bit of those gears turning, right? We got a little bit of that activation energy that's happening here. But the problem is when gears begin to turn, things are slow to start, right? And it always takes more energy when you're first doing something to build into those pathworks, right? It always takes more of that work. It's like the grinding of the gears when you start doing something. You're like, I don't even know if this works anymore. So giving yourself that space, and giving yourself some grace as you proceed forward in this way is very valuable and important. This is a message that's having an impact across all of the frequencies. Third card, center card for our spread for today is, we have here, you see this? This is beautiful energy now. Now we've got our Wheel of Fortune arriving here, right in the center of our spread. So again, being able to have perspective, things going on that you may not be able to see, letting those gears shift. It requires that sense of not getting lost in the moment, but utilizing that to step back and view and utilize the fuller picture. So we see even now, this is a period and a time amplified by a lot of planning, a lot of taking some of that opportunity, having the energetic time, right? And so we see even now, this may be feeling like at the moment where something doesn't feel, when one thing doesn't feel productive, another thing has the opportunity to launch into energetic being. So we've got here a lot more plans, a lot more opportunities. This is that flourishing, but what's frustrating about it is it's flourishing through the cracks, right? Through the frustrations. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union process, a lot of that energy right now, doing that work, this is the energy that is thinking of new ways to do things, right? Being able to be energetically creative. A lot of that tenacity, a lot of that perpetuity. This is a little bit easier right now for the energy deep within divine union, because that ability of feeling or working towards the long term is one that feels more energetically collaborative. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that is learning the difference between what it feels like to desire a manifestation goal versus the reality of creating one. We don't walk into our manifestation goals. We don't just arrive there and go, oh, good, I'm here. I found my manifestation. We create it. with our own hands. And so a little bit of this energy right now, this is a bit of that egoic shedding that we were talking about that is occurring for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union. Because the difference of what we effectively feel on the outside, that swan energy, right? The thing that looks like it's so easy, but understanding the challengings, understanding the hurdles, understanding all of those moving parts. This is the energy that is recognizing and feeling the sense or the space of understanding all of the work that it takes to make something feel energetically effortless. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, so much of this work right now, this is the energy that is working and understanding on. And this is what we were talking about a lot of that closure of the past. Because this is the energy right now in separation that embraces their own past, right? This isn't the energy that says, the only way I can move forward is if I let go. This is the energy that says, I don't need to let go of anything. I need to integrate it. I need to recognize that experience, that those places and spaces that I lived and inhabited and went through, even the difficulties, they're part and parcel to what you find today. And so we see even now that a lot of that energy coming into that space, having some of that recall, it's difficult, right? Because a lot of that is the airing of the frustration between what one may have desired versus what one may have received. But even in that space, what do we see that the energy and separation is articulating to one another in the expression of those stories, in the expression of those histories. This is the energy that articulates and says to one another, these are the lessons I have been learning on the way, right? And so even here, that ability of being, and this is why that work right now, right? That work we saw between Scorpio and Taurus was so fundamental, because this is the energy that is articulating, even as they move into new energetic connections, the difference, the valuation point between what feels integral to the self versus what feels adaptable, right? And a lot of that energy doing so right now, a new energetic connections that are forming, but they're slow, they're steady, because these are the energies that put quality over quantity. These are energies that are utilizing a lot of discernment as they do so. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, before we move into clarification on these cards right now, flying out of the deck, we've got here our Knight of Wands in its reversal in combination with our 9 of Cups in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy in separation. Again, these lessons are feeling a little bit different. Same work, different ways of working through it, if you will, right? So for feminine energy right now, as I said, that point of appreciation for the self, right? This isn't the feminine energy being like, I am perfect. Everything I've ever done is perfect. Everything around me is wrong. No. Right? Like that's not what we mean by appreciation of the self to a certain extent. What we effectively mean by the feminine energy, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, coming into that appreciation point, is the feminine saying, I am energetically capable of anything I put my mind to. But recognizing and identifying the gift of that I bring to others, this is why the energy of the feminine is utilizing so much of that discernment at this time. Because this is the feminine energy coming into that modality of appreciation with masculine that recognizes and appreciates that as same, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, for masculine energy right now, and that I told you, a lot of that work happening right now is how the feminine energy is healing and working on repairing the energetic ego. That is like working through the obstacle, if you will. While for masculine energy, a little bit more of this work has to do with coming into union with one's own true nature, with one's own authentic sense of self. This is harder work for masculine energy, and I give a lot of credit to the masculine energy doing this work, because that space of authenticity, Like that work of being able to communicate to feminine in such a way, it feels like masculine, like shedding their armor as they're coming towards feminine at a moment that everything in them is like screaming at them to put it up, right? But this is the work that we do when we're healing the bonds of intimacy, because that ability of the masculine reaffirming and reconnecting to the self and saying in the process of doing so, that ability of being authentic, if something about being authentic to the feminine in that context moves feminine energy further away from masculine, this is the masculine energy that reaffirms and says, that is not rejection. That is redirection. That is the energy that says, if there's something about my authentic self that would move someone away from me, why would I feel that the solution to that is to mask my authenticity? Because that is basically creating an architecture wherein you're not building an authentic connection. You're having to put on an energetic mask, if you will. So this is hard for the masculine, though, because it feels there's a lot of vulnerability that is expressed or built or exposed upon that modality of sharing. So you see even now, these energies that are healing, they're coming towards one another with a lot of trepidation. But this isn't the trepidation of fear. These aren't energies that are taking another person's trepidation personally. They're amplified by the articulation and understanding of what one has experienced in the past that would create that level or degree of tenderness as it relates to being one's own authentic self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that's feeling the difference between what they imagine versus what it actually feels like to be within the thing that they imagined, right? It's not easy. It's not easy. It's a lot easy. It looks easy on the outside, right? It looks easy on the outside, but that ability of identifying and recognizing to a certain extent, feeling, sensing, understanding the difference between what one perceives versus what it takes. This is the energy even now. Oh, I feel like this is the energy realizing with relief that point of comfortability, it doesn't require one to move further away from one's own energetic nature, but it's allowing for that state or that space of identifying and recognizing what feels, and this is what I keep getting, what feels like it is integral to the self versus what we described as the complaining ego, right? Because we were almost describing a little bit of that ego as like the noisy toddler in the back, right? It's like the ego can be like the noisy toddler in the back. And a lot of that sense of perception, if you will, a lot of that ability of looking towards something and almost having that conversation with the self, particularly in relationality to feeling some of that frustration rising up and saying, is that coming up because there's something that is moving me further away from what is my integrity? Or is that coming up because you don't like the way that something is coming towards you? Like having that ability of recognizing, there's a little bit of this, like, I have to say, there's spikes here. It's like walking through one's own thorns to a certain extent. But when we walk towards thorns, what we effectively say is, are these here necessary, right? Are they necessary? Are they protective? Or are they thorny? Are they thorny because it's it's not necessarily something that is important so much as the self wanting to be very myopic in relationality to what one perceives and how one perceives to have something be, right? And I need to point out that when we become focused, right? When we become so focused and firm and demanding in relationality to how we want something to energetically appear, it will blind us to the presentation of that thing that is all around us, right? So the possibility of what could occur because we're so focused on what we expect something to be, that's very profound. And a lot of that energetic lesson is occurring right now for the energy coming into divine union, because that ability of adaptability, that ability of possibility, expanding one's own energetic horizons requires the sense or self of putting the ego aside. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation, I mean, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we see right now, deep within divine union, this is that modality of navigating and feeling that sense or space. I mean, like the word that I'm seeing even now is like navigating frustration. And we'll just admit it, like, like the retrogrades, they're frustrating. It's quiet, and I like to point this out, like that quietude, when you like it, it's really also going to depend astrologically on you, how you feel, because sometimes you have that quietude and you're like, this is nice, it's nice and quiet. But if like you got like more like air, if you got more like air or fire sign energy, it might be like it's a little too quiet, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of that type of energy. So working through that, building into that point of introspection right now, it really may feel different across the frequencies, and some of it has to do with where your astrological placements are. Continuing to get clarification between our Hierophant in its reversal and our Magician in its upright. These two cards together, man. One card to clarify. Peaceful. Five of Wands in its reversal. It's like, how do you navigate peace? Some energy likes restive states. Some energy likes restive states. They're like, like the comfy chair, But if you're more in that state of like, this is going to be harder for like Aries. Like Aries, how are you doing right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like energy that's more like ready to like, or Sag energy too. Like energy is just ready to like, like hit the buzzer and run. This is type of energy. It can feel like peace can make you feel a little like energetically triggered. You know what I mean? You're like, like, because it's hard. But here, even Seer, I need to see this. And this is what I mean about the ego recognizing the self. Understanding the tendency of one's own self is like, you know what I mean? Because that's that acknowledgement point of the difference between how you may experience something versus how others may be experiencing something. So I'm getting a little bit of this energy here that's happening, like it's happening across the frequencies, and it's like, it's self-soothing. It's like learning how to calm oneself down. But that's funny because we also saw a lot of that like angry toddler kind of vibration that was coming through yesterday in the perception of the ego, right? So when we're doing a lot of that confrontation with the ego, what's funny about it is it's not about removing it. Like I keep telling you guys, like anyone who tells you like, oh, it's just great, you just have to get rid of your ego. Like that's crazy. Why would you get rid of your ego? Your ego is there to protect you. It's supposed to be like a little like cap shield, So it's not about removing the ego. It's about pacifying it. It's about recognizing, because sometimes the ego's got something really important to say. Like the ego's job is to protect you. So it's like, if the ego is speaking up, you got to be like, well, what are you talking up against? Because the thing about the ego is the ego is just trying to protect the self at all costs. You got to remember that it's at all costs. So it's like when that's occurring, you have to have conversations with it. Because in that modality, sometimes it's like, okay, that's a very valid point, ego. And sometimes you're like, you're being insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever spoken to a child? Like, sometimes like it's almost like talking to children. Like when you speak to children, children can be profound. Children can have things they say that like, sometimes children say something and be like, what the heck are you talking about? Oh my God, you got something really confused, my friend. So in that space, there's a lot of that confrontation with the ego here. And a lot of it is to it's like the checking, right? When we say check the ego at the door, we don't mean leave it. We see check it, make sure its clothes are on straight, fix its tie, like make sure it looks okay. So a little bit of this work that we see even now, it's prickly. And this may also have to do with navigating others' egos that aren't as good at taking care of them, right? So it may be a little bit of that work as well. Like and this is often what happens when we're in these places and spaces. So one of the things I'm going to say that's going to help you right now, and this is why I say even now, like, please, the last thing you ever want to do during a retrograde period is assume anything. Don't assume anything. Don't assume anything. You can presume, right? But you can't assume, because that ability of checking, right? That ability of like being like, can you say that again? I think I misheard you. Like that, like a little bit of that work to a certain extent, it helps, because that even here, like that sense of being introspective and recognizing that even every now and then, sometimes our egos like have those little like flare ups. It all requires that ability. Like it requires the energetic accountability. And so I even see a lot of people becoming self-corrective in a space right now, or having those conversations. But that's also how we build intimacy, because we're self-corrective when we care, right? We're conscientious when we're concerned. So there's something about that sense of conscientiousness here that feels very intimate, and there feels like there's a lot of love there. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing, this is what I mean. I gotta say, this is some of the most, I don't want to say it's hard for the energy right now coming into divine union. It's profound. There is some energy right now coming into divine union that are having some very small, subtle, and utterly profound breakthroughs right now. So many utterly profound breakthroughs. And what's hard about it is, sometimes I need to point this out, these can be the subtle, small, profound breakthroughs that can feel shattering as it relates to looking at our past version of self. Because the moment that we get out of our way and we realize how easy something can be when we check our ego at the door to a certain extent, those moments can be very bittersweet when they happen, right? Because it's suddenly that moment where you, like, what happens in those moments that you suddenly realize that your ego was getting in the way of something? You're like, wow, I was standing in my way, like my way the whole time, right? Like that ability of recognizing or identifying that to a certain extent, like it can feel very, like, it can feel like very hard. But we see even now, and for masculine and feminine, it is having different impacts. For masculine, and this is what's hard, it is moving away from the immediate need and being energetically adaptable in how that energetic need plays out. Like, this is what we talked about with the happy medium. Like, when we come into that space of working through the happy medium, it requires that ability of saying, like, it doesn't have to go exactly the way that I intend it to be. But that's nice, because when in that moment of saying it's not going to go exactly the way I intend it to be, we open ourselves up to all of the potential possibilities of how something could be, right? Like, it's in that moment that we experience a celebration at times. But again, it requires us to step away. It's like, you ever wanted something so bad and then it didn't go out the way it didn't come towards you the way you want, but then instead it came in such a different way. You're like, that was even better than the first idea I had. It's a lot of that, like, welcome to the retrograde. It's often that type of mentality. We get these moments a lot, but they can be very challenging in the retrograde periods. While for feminine energy, this is happening as well. But this is hard because this is requiring the feminine energy, again, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to be more creative. To remember things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. To working through that capacity, or working through that ability. And again, that doesn't mean that everything is energetically perfect all the time, but this is the feminine energy saying to themselves, if everything isn't energetically perfect all the time, it's not your fault. It is not your energetic fault. What you can do, all you can do, is everything that you can do. And so we see even now, like, a lot of the feminine energy working through that context, not overly internalizing, but instead being proactive in the midst of something that doesn't feel ideal. This is how the energy of the feminine is taking the negative and moving it into a positive. This is also happening right now for the energy in separation, because I keep getting this resounding call for a lot of the energy in separation. And this is the banging of the toddler that's going, I don't want to be here. Like, this is a lot, but this is the resounding call of the energy in separation. Because the energy in separation, when you're trying to move towards a destination, you don't see the idea of being in separation as a playground. It feels like an energetic limitation. So we see even now, that's why these energies are recognizing each other in that modality, because the resounding call that they're hearing as they move towards each other is, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. It's the amplification of moving towards a manifestation goal from a point of discomfort. So thank the energetic discomforter point. Continuing to get clarification between our Magician card in combination with our Wheel of Fortune in its upright is one card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Wands in its upright. So I told you. Do you see all this like, ugh? This is I gotta say, today's energy might feel a little ugh. Why does it feel a little ugh? Because it's a lot of this like back and forth stuff. You know? It's a lot of this like, you see this like, this is like easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard. You know what I mean? So don't, and the thing is, I have to point out, it's almost better when things are in a place where they're just difficult, because then you can kind of get with the vibe of it. It's almost better when things are just easy, because you can kind of get with the vibe of it. It's when things like, when the energy is spiking like this, I'd like to know what the Schumann resonance is doing right now. Because when the energy is spiking like this, it can be like, it feels like a little bit of a roller coaster ride, you know? It just feels like a little bit of a roller coaster ride. But what do you do? Like, what do you do when you're on an energetic roller coaster? You just kind of ride it out. You know, you remember the difference between saying, like, this is just a momentary feeling, as opposed to this will pass. Like this will pass. This feeling will energetically pass. Or you can utilize it. You know, like, or you can just say, like, I just like, okay, it's trampoline energy today. It's going to feel like you're on a trampoline. You're like, and I can just see some energy is going like, wee, and some energy is going, you know, like you're just bored, like, God, like, you know, you're like, when is this going to stop? So it's going to feel, and it really does depend on where your placements are today. I'm sorry, guys. That's just how the vibe is today. Like, I'm telling you, the tarot is here to help you. It's not here to, like, you know, I got to just tell you what I'm seeing. I just report the news, folks. Continuing to get clarification, though. And this is, but I have to say this. Do you see how some of this, and this is why I want you to be very conscientious with your conversations today. Because this is the type of energy where someone could just accidentally let loose on someone and be like, I'm sorry, that was me letting something out on you because I was feeling it because of someone else. You know what I mean? Like, this is like one of those like, blah, like that kind of energy, just like having those little flare-ups. Now, that's why it's really important, though, to channel this type of this energy into creative things. It's easier right now for feminine as opposed to masculine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Why? Feminine is addressing this energy right now, looking and feeling it because of some of the past and going like, I'm going to do something about it. Right? That we see more of the feminine energy right now in that space of being like, I just need to put this in a place where it doesn't create more negative. Like when you're feeling, I can see a lot of feminine energy being in that like straw into gold kind of energy today. Being like, there's so much straw, I got to do something productive with it. Like, I'm not, like, I got to get this, like, I got to get this out of here. So a lot of that, like, creative channeling is what I'm seeing into something that feels productive. Masculine, you know, the thing about it is it's creating a bit of the problem with some of the masculine energy right now is there's a little bit of an energetic creative block in relationality to the feeling, and what to utilize with it, because some of this energy here is I see, and this is what's happening here. There's like a lot of masculine energy working on healing the ego, looking back on the past in different ways, and it's hurting. But this is because some of that egoic work is like navigating those wounds of the past, seeing things from different perspectives, working through a lot of that, like working through that to a certain extent. I see even now that so much of that energy of masculine doing so, this is how the masculine energy is healing the inner child at this time. Because even here, you know, it's like the working through, and I keep seeing this right even now, the ability of the masculine to recognize the difference between accepting things for the way they are, that requires that sense of being able to understand. And this is a heavy energetic lesson, which is things can always be the way that you desire them to be, but they might not be in the form that you expect them to take. You know? Like a lot of that work that we're seeing even here, it's really energetically heavy, because I'm seeing even now that so much of that work, it's requiring that sense or that space of I want to say, like, making peace. Like we talk about this, making peace can feel like the hardest thing in the world, because in that space of making peace, it's not like you look at something and you're happy about it. You make peace because you come into that sense or space of like, you have to accept something in order to energetically move forward, right? And so we see that even now. We see a lot of that work that's occurring. Now, continuing to get clarification, and this is also, I need to point this out, this is how the energy right now is building into new connections in separation, right? This is some heavy, this is profound stuff. Continuing to get clarity between our Wheel of Fortune in combination with our Knight of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. The reason I'm laughing is, if you remember, we got this card yesterday and it was in its reversal. This is what I mean about like the energy just kind of fluctuating a lot right now. Yesterday was like go, 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 go. Now it's like slow, 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 slow. You know, this is like red light, green light kind of stuff here. And it can be very, and that type of energy, it can be very frustrating. Specifically, let's start with the energy and separation right now. Because for the energy and separation, and this is what I mean with a lot of this energy and separation, coming to terms with things, because I see even now, that energy that's coming to terms with things is integrating the work of the past. This is the energy, I told you, and we were talking a lot about that idea of like wound cleansing a few days ago. So that ability of bringing up the past, and that moment where something that you're articulating upon, you're able to express with a feeling of objectiveness, and something that, like, and we were hearing a few days ago, you know, someone saying it doesn't hurt as much to speak about. It doesn't hurt because, I mean, it's not that it doesn't hurt, but I see the energy going, I've made energetic peace with it, right? That space or that sense of looking at something and still feeling like something rising back up from the past, like this is the gift of the retrograde sometimes, is that recognition of something reemerging, but one's own feeling upon it having changed, right? Like this here, we see even now, this is like, you know, this is like, these are like the wings. These are like the wings that are moving someone forward to a certain extent, because they feel the movement. They recognize the movement in terms of how far they've come from something, right? And when you have wings, what's the beauty of wings? You have a different perspective. Wings give you a different perspective, right? So we see even now that expression or that articulation of the perspective, this is the gift that the energy in separation is receiving via these new connections, because these are the energy that are not only, you know, finding their wings to a certain extent, which means the gaining of the energetic perspective, but they're meeting others that share that energetic perspective, right? While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we see that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that's understanding the work it takes, understanding the work it takes for something to stay in the air. Things don't just float. They move, like, things just don't float. They flap. They gotta, like, you look at a bird in the sky, you go, that's really beautiful, looks really easy. Not to the bird. The bird's like huffing and puffing. You know what I mean? The bird's working their tail feathers off. So these are the energies that are learning how to like use those like how much work it takes to keep something energetically effortless. And it starts with that sense or that space of navigating the egoic self. And that's the energy that's like when they move their wings, their ego starts like coming off in the process, because this is the energy that is recognizing the valuation point of what they're energetically lifting, what they're creating together. While for masculine and feminine right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing energetically right now, this is the energy deep within divine union that is being patient right now. This is navigating patience. This is being patient. What is the energy deep within divine union being patient upon? Themselves. And the problem, the difficulties that I'm seeing here is these are the energies that don't want to be patient with themselves, that get frustrated with themselves, that see where they want to be and see where they are, and they feel like they've got notes. And what is the counterpart saying? Imagine you are perfect. Imagine you are perfect. And that doesn't mean that you say, I'm perfect. That means build a sense of grace in recognizing that that journey to becoming better, that's feeling, is something that everything energetically imperfect inhabits all the time. Because perfect is not something that exists. Perfection is something that is worked toward. It's not a static state. Perfect is not a static state. It is an active state. And this is why the energy is saying to one another, I find you perfect just the way you are, because your ability of desiring to move towards perfection is what makes you energetically perfect. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Wands and its reversal in combination with our Nine of Cups and its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with, I love this card, our Nine of Pentacles in its upright. Oh, so a lot of this energy, like working through that, like I can see the energy being like, imagine I'm perfect. No, I'm not. Like the energy like I can, like grumpy about it. Like I can see the energy in divine union, like imagine I'm perfect. Like just like through gritted teeth. Grumbling every step of the way. That's the type of energy we're feeling to imagine. Like it's like, you know, it's a little bit of that. And sometimes, listen, some days are like that. Some days are like that. You just gotta, some days you just gotta like give it a little bit more grease, you know? Some days you just gotta give it a little more grease to go on that path of peace, you know? And that's the thing, the retrograde makes it like, the retrograde feels like it's pulling teeth, you know, like it's discomfortable. It's, you know, yeah, it's just recognizing that that's just the vibe right now. It's not great, but what are you gonna do? But and again, I do, and here's the thing: I see masculine getting more restive in this state. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. I feel like a little bit of the masculine, like wanting to kick their feet back on this a little bit, just ride it out, like ride it out on a lounge chair or a lazy boy. For feminine energy, it's much more getting stuff done. It's like done, do. Like get it. Like just a lot more activation on this. Like, and I feel like it's because sometimes we see this Wheel of Fortune stuff. I gotta tell you, every time I see a Wheel of Fortune sometimes coming through, like during a retrograde, it starts messing with time. Like it's like things start feeling like they're slowing down or speeding up. Continuing to get clarification, masculine and feminine coming into divine union. A lot of this work coming into divine union right now. I can see a lot of this energy coming into divine union being like, what is happening? Like literally going, what is happening? Because it feels weird. I just see a bunch of energy coming into divine union being like, this feels weird. Something weird is happening. And the weirdness has to do with the recognition of the intimacy that's forming between you and energetic counterpart, right? Like I can see even now, like these are energies that are kind of building their own little insular worlds right now. And so a little bit of that work, it feels like there's a little bit of energetic displacement that's occurring, because I just keep hearing someone, like I just keep feeling someone say, I didn't expect it to feel this way, you know? Like there's something here that is like, you know, it's being within something and looking around and being like, it didn't look like this from the outside. It didn't look like this from the outside, because that sense or that space of understanding what it energetically takes, that work, as it were, this is what is allowing for so much of that modality of building into the concept or the context of creating something with another. And that prioritization point, this is the energy that feels like they're creating something from nothing, because what they're forming within or between themselves is like it's like I want to say somebody being like, how is the most stable thing that I experience the most untangible, right? Because that's like, that is the energy that recognizes that, like, we don't walk into our manifestation goals, we create them, right? While for a lot of this energy coming like in separation right now, I'm just seeing a lot of this energy in separation right now, working through like this is some massive healing that's coming right now for energy and separation. I just hear a bunch of energy and separation going, I'm at peace with it. I'm at peace with it. It's not perfect, but I'm at peace with it. Because even here, and I need to point this out. This is why, and this is really, okay, this is really important. So, and it has to do with the fluctuations. So there's some energy right now reaching closer from past situations, right? Because if there's something that feels like it's repeating in another person's energetic cycle, something that goes up and down and up and down and in and out, you have to recognize that, like, sometimes energy separates and they're not in separation, right? That volatility point is the nature of the energetic relationship. So I see even now some energy looking at past relationships and being like, yeah, it was like a roller coaster ride. Like that whole time, like back and forth, up and down, up and down. And why is this energy at peace right now? This is like a closure point, because this is the energy that looks at something and says that volatility is not energetically ideal. You can't build something strong on ground that is not even, right? And so I see even now a lot of that energy that is articulating the ability of observing the past and saying, I'm departing away from something, because consistency and partnership is the even ground from which we can build a strong foundation. So we see even now, like, that's a lot of that energy that is articulating upon some of that past path work, specifically in terms of saying, like, yeah, I cared about it, but it was like this. Of course, like, it was like, like, what can you do with that? So there's a lot of this energy that's saying, I do the work to find the balance within myself, because I build from that point. You build from a point of stability. And that's the stability we find within, and that's the stability we create without in our relationships. And so that's the energy that, again, is very trepidatious in who they create with, saying volatility does not allow for the ability to build up, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Wands in combination with our Seven of Wands. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. The foundation card as soon as I say it. So again, you can't look at this. This is literally saying, you can't build on ground that's like, you can't build on uneven ground. You can't do it. I mean, you can, but it's going to be a shaky foundation, And so we see even now, this is the energy and separation that says, I work to find that stability within. I identify that is not like that desire to create something energetically stable is, and I see even now some of the energy and separation saying some energetic connections don't want something stable. Some energetic connections aren't looking necessarily to build something. Some energetic connections are just looking for a roller coaster ride. And so I see even now, this is a trepidation that some of the energy and separation is having right now and saying, are you looking for a roller coaster ride, or are you looking to build something of value? Are you at an amusement park, or are you actually looking to build something energetically stable? And so this is why the energy is like, being very like conscientious and slow, because this is the recognition of the new energetic connections in terms of articulating and identifying what it is that they're seeking, but also looking for the ability, right? Recognizing that that ability is one that it's the difference between words and action, right? Words are one thing, action's a whole different thing. You can say you want something, you know, but if you get there, if you get there and someone hands you like some nails and a hammer and you start like, running around being like, I didn't want to do all this work for it. I didn't actually expect, I just wanted it to be there. Like, I was just hoping I could just show up, like this is a lot of that energy kind of like working through that to a certain extent, being like, do you know how to build something? Would you like that? Do you know how to build something? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that's recognizing what it takes to build something. It's not easy. You got to agree. Sometimes when you agree, you can't have it exactly the way you want it to be. You gotta share the plans, right? So these are the energies that are learning how to share the plans, and that's hard. Because that's the work of the ego. And for feminine and masculine right now, it's happening in different ways. For feminine, it's feeling the energetic confidence of being able to articulate to masculine without feeling like they're energetically overstayed. Like, I see even now, this is a feminine energy that is like building forth in such a way that they're being energetically productive. For masculine, this is a lot of that work in being energetically patient and remembering that, the immediate desire always needs, like when we're building into healthy partnership, it's not about the immediate desire. It is about what feels energetically best for the partnership itself, right? So we see even now, like a lot of this, it feels very profound and it feels very healing, specifically and particularly, but from different vectors for masculine and feminine. For the energy deep within divine union right now, this is just like working upon or building upon a point of energetic stabilization to a certain extent. Because I see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, I want to say this could be a lot of work of navigating others' egos that are too energetically fragile. Because especially and particularly, if these are modalities or circumstances where you've kind of had to do that work, particularly build into partnership, then sometimes when you see someone operating in that sense where they're still like they're very inflexible in their own ego, it can be hard because it can sometimes feel like the things that hurt you from the past was someone that was trying to be energetically protective but not recognizing that they're hurting others in the process. This is why we have to check our egos, because sometimes when we don't check our egos, we inadvertently hurt those around us with them, because the ego wants to overly protect, and sometimes it can damage things around them in the process. So we see even now, like, this is what I mean about some of that like deep diving, if you will, in terms of recognizing and healing from experiences from the past, with an observation of the difference between what was intentional and what was inadvertent, right? Continuing to get clarification between our 5 of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Temperance card in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with Ace of Swords in its reversal. So that's what I mean. Making peace with things is hard. It's uncomfortable. It stinks, right? Because when you make peace with something, it's a recognition of like what is within one's own control to change versus what is within one's own power to accept. And it stinks. Like that's not that it's easier said than done. Like that's like, but that ability of doing so, it doesn't create it doesn't create a place. I have to point like that doesn't create, that isn't giving up. right? You do that so you figure out where the work is. Like when you say, give me give me the grace to like make peace with something and the power to understand what I can change, it's so that you put your energy in a place that it feels like it'll be useful, right? Like it feels like you're putting it in a place that it has an energetic impact. So a lot of this energy right now, like that's where that space of making peace is. It's like, show me where I should put the work. Show me where the work will be of energetic value. Show me where I can put that in a space that it'll make some kind of important, like allow that to be something that becomes like a breakthrough instead of a breakdown, right? And that can be frustrating, right? But also a little bit of that work, like that is the gift and the power of a well-spent Mercury retrograde, right? You got to feel the frustration point and be like, okay, cool. Like that's definitely a wall. That's definitely a wall. Oh, look, this wasn't a wall. Like you got to feel around a little bit sometimes, but sometimes it's in that moment you feel around. You're like, oh, what's this? For masculine and energy and feminine energy coming into divine union, that's exactly what's happening right now. You're forming the walls of the energetic union to a certain extent, and in the process of doing so, it feels so much like that process that it's ineffable. It's ineffable, but it's everything. It's fundamental, but it's hard to put. It's like hard to put. You're like, what's happening? It's hard to put words to it, because this is why. It's like you're creating that space between yourselves that's building upon significance. And this isn't the energy that goes, oh, everything's damaged in our connection. Maybe if we just kick it up a notch, I know how to fix it. Let's just like raise the volume to 11. This isn't energy moving deeper into partnership in order to fix something that's energetically broken. This is energy right now that feels the perfection of what they've created in a partnership and says, I want to make this I need this to feel more tangible. I want to make this feel more like something I can touch instead of just something that I feel. While for a lot of this energy in separation, I see a lot of the energy looking back at someone in some separation and being like, yeah, I cared about them, but they didn't get it. They didn't get it, right? It's painful. It's painful when we have to heal from the past, right? It's painful when we have to heal from the past, because this, I need to point out, I see a lot of energy right now that doesn't look back on the past and be like, yeah, there's no past there. There's a lot of energy that looks back on the past, goes, it was a painful path. I don't want to be here because I didn't expect to be here, because I was trying to build something with someone, but they didn't energetically get it. You know, you can't build on ground like this. If something's like this and you're trying to build something on ground like this and someone's being like this, what are you going to do? You know, you can't, and this is the energy that says, I can't force healing. Can't force healing on someone that doesn't want to energetically heal. Can't force healing on it, because that creates more of this, right? That creates more of this. So we see even now a lot of that energy building into that context of saying, the reason I am in separation is not because I'm longing to go back to something with a hope of like it being fixed where it wasn't fixed. This is the energy that says, I have the strength, to understand what I can energetically change, and have the grace to move forward when I recognize and accept the circumstances that I find them in, right? So that's a lot of that energy that even now, like there's a little bit, I'm going to point out, sometimes these energies come into separation. You feel a little bit energetically defeated. You're not defeated. You feel energetically defeated because you cared about something. You feel energetically defeated because you had hope upon something. Your hope still exists. And that's why the universe says, give it a minute. Don't try to force it. Don't try to force something to be your manifestation. If it's saying every moment, I don't want to be, I don't appreciate this, I don't want this. Say to the universe, I know it's there for me. I know that there's someone there for me that also wants that. And so we see even now a little bit of this energy coming towards each other, and they're battle scarred. Like they're tired, Grandpa, because they're saying, I don't want it to feel like a fight. I don't want to feel like I'm fighting someone. I want to feel like I'm building something with someone. Continuing to get clarification with our Temperance card in combination with our 9 of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with the Fool card. And this is why the energy, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up again, right? This is the energy saying, I refuse to accept and acknowledge. Failure is not failure. Failure is the story of how many times it took you before you succeeded. Failure is not failure. Failure is the story of how many times it took you before you succeeded. And so this is a lot of that energy that is moving forward in that way and effectively saying, that is that work that I'm doing. That is that journey forward. That is that comprehension point. And this is the energy that says, I have that energetic fear. I fear the past potentially repeating itself, but I'm learning those energetic lessons and I'm trying again. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we see right now coming into divine union, working through these challenges. This is the energy going, I didn't expect it to feel this way. But this is also the energetic way, right? This is the way it is. Because that ability, that recognition of the work it takes on the self to be able to move into a context within, again, the energy being like, I don't know what's going to happen next, right? Like, this is the energy that recognizes that you don't just walk into a perfect relationship. You don't go, oh, here it is, I'm good. It's something that you create with your own hands every step of the way. Right? And so these are the energies that don't feel like entering a relationship is where everything ends. It feels like it's a moment where everything begins, because that's when you start flapping your wings. You know? Like that. You're like, I never used like that. It's like, okay, this is where the work is. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union, this is the energy that says to one another, even when they're having those moments and they're feeling frustrated with one another, or even feeling frustrated with themselves. This is the reminder I see that the energy deep within divine union says to one another and says, our job is not to be perfect. Our job is to try to be, because the gift of love is trying to be perfect for one another, right? And the response of love is saying, you don't have to. You're already perfect as you are. And the energy of love responds and says, but I'm going to keep trying to get a little bit better. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Pentacles in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Justice card. And that's why I'm going to say right now, you listen to me, all of you. I don't care if someone gives you some nastiness right now. I'm going to be Cosmic Mom again. I don't care if they come up to you and they do something crappy. Okay? Just because they start it doesn't mean you have to end it that way. Just because they start it doesn't mean you have to, like, I don't want to hear none of this you first nonsense. Like, I don't want to hear any of this you first nonsense. Just because someone gives you trash doesn't mean you have to make trash out of it. You can turn it into gold. All right? Don't, if someone goes low, don't give yourself permission to go lower. If someone goes low, you go high. All right? Because that's that. And you know why you go high? Doesn't even matter if it's the right thing to do, because you know it's the right thing to do energetically. Right? Set the energetic standard, right? Set that energetic standard and stay in that energetic standard. Because I see even now, like a lot of that, the problem with some of this retrograde energy, I'll tell you right now, it's pokey. There's a big difference between saying I have a right. And you can tell to someone, listen, if you want to go to someone and be like, you know what I should do? I want you to do that. Go write in your book, like, this is what I should do. Oh my God. Go find someone to tell it to. Be like, this is what I should do. And then do what you know you should, but don't do what you have a right to. Do what you know is right. Do what you know is right. Right? You can get it out. You have permission to like work it out. Go run it out. Go write it out. Go paint it out. And then move in a space of following what you know is energetically right. Because again, that's the only problem with this. This is pokey energy. It's a lot of that. And this is why I see even now, like that ability, like I see that's like what the energy right now within divine union is doing. Like, I should do that. But then being like, but I'm not going to do that. Well, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, like so much of this work that we see coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that's just like, this is the feeling, the weight, and the intensity of the connection. And this is the energy that like the inevitability of recognizing the power of a connection such that this energy is like, I hear like surrendering to it, but it doesn't feel like surrendering, like I give up. It feels like, it feels inevitable, because this is the energy that when we say surrender, we say we come into a point of acknowledgement in recognizing who we truly are. Right? And I feel like even now, some of this energy that was trying to, like, that was avoiding divine union. I see energy here, this coming in divine union was like, I was avoiding this. But being like, I energetically surrender to it. It doesn't mean like you surrender to another person. It's someone saying, I surrender to how I feel. I've just accepted it. Like, I've accepted my energetic feelings. And in that moment, like, everything becomes peaceful. Right? And in that moment, anything becomes possible. So it's like, it can feel like the scariest thing, and then it feels like everything, right? It's the scariest thing, and then it becomes everything. While for a lot of this energy and separation, I just keep seeing the energy. This is why the energy and separation is looking at each other in trepidation. They're going, do you actually want to build something, or do you like roller coasters? I don't want to build a roller coaster. I'm not in the roller coaster building business anymore. I see some energy being like, I used to build roller coasters. So I'm being like, I don't build roller coasters anymore. So we see even now, that's why the energy is moving towards one another with trepidation. Because I see a lot of energy saying, I've met people that say they want to build something stable, but then I found out they actually wanted to build a crazy roller coaster. So that ability of like working through, taking that time, is the energy saying, I know what you say that you want, but have you found the peace within to actually want it? Because if not, that's where the words don't become the action. That's where someone says, I would really like a healthy relationship, but I'm not going to do anything to actually create one. I'm looking for someone that will build one around me, but I don't want to be the person that actually has to like be in the stable place to create one, right? So this is the energy saying, like, I know what you want to build, but do you know how to hold a hammer? Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Swords and our Fool card, right? This is energy. I know what you want, but can you pick up a sword? Do you know how to use it? Can you pick up a hammer? One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Devil card. As I was saying, it's really easy to want things. Like, wanting things is great. But that, I have to point this out. Manifestation is not just sitting there and being like, I want this. Like, what are you doing? Like, no. Like, you can't, you know who does that? Children. Like, children do that. We allow that to one thing. Children are allowed to do that. Children, we're like, okay, because you literally can't use your hands yet. Like, that ability of doing so, that ability of recognizing that wanting, well, if you want something, it'll stop you from getting anything. If you spend all your time in a space of want instead of doing, then then want is what you get. If you say, I want, I desire, it's like all you want is desiring instead of doing. Well, yeah, it's like you're manifesting the fact that you're going to want. Like you're in that space. And so there's a lot of energy being like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong. I keep going everywhere. I keep looking for like a healthy relationship. And then it just seems like all I'm finding is problems. Like, there's a lot of this energy that's working in that space. I see even now. And this is what's important. Do you see what's happening for the energy and separation? I see a lot of this energy and separation going, I was feeling like I was the energetic problem. Right? And this is painful here. Because I see now two different vectors that are happening in separation. Someone saying everything I was saying to someone that I wanted, they were saying that I was the energetic problem. They were saying that my desire to want to create something with them, that was the thing that was ruining our energetic relationship. And I see some energy saying, and that's when I realized we wanted different things, right? Because if we don't match desires, we will look at another's desires as oppositional to our own, and it creates a tug of war. Well, I see even now a lot of this energy saying, I tried to say to someone that you can't just be in a space of saying that you desire something, you also have to act in accordance to it, right? And so this is the other modality I'm seeing for the energy and separation, saying, yeah, it was really hard because somebody said that they wanted something with me, but everything they did was oppositional to the thing that they said that they wanted. And so both of these energies are saying, like, that was the modality of this, that the person said, I had to move away from it. It wasn't energetically healthy. And when we're moving in healing, it's painful because it doesn't mean we don't care about things. We say, I cared about it a lot. But caring about something and recognizing whether it's healthy or not are two completely different things. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the energy acknowledging how far they've come. And it's hard even now. There's all kinds of, this is the energy being like, I thought everything would be perfect here. Whole new problems, more like more lessons, more problems. Because even here, a lot of these struggle points that are happening are in the realm of the ego. And that's not the energy. I got to tell you now, this isn't the energy that feels like they're giving up themselves in relationality to moving closer to a connection. This is the energy that feels like they're letting go of the self that wasn't healthy and finding themselves along the way. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, I just see a lot of this energy right now navigating those spaces or places where another's ego, I see someone being like, you can't, I keep hearing somebody say, you can only heal what another desires to heal. I feel like there's a lot of that intentionality that occurs here between, what one can do to fix something versus navigating another's energetic like wounds. And so that's more of that sense of saying, like, if someone's in a space or place where they're in so much energetic pain that nothing that you can do feels like it heals it. Like, that's what we talk about an unhealed ego state, because that's one that articulates the desire for something that cannot be actually articulated or expressed, right? Like that feeling of wanting something, but then saying, but what do you want? And you're not being able to put words to it. This is why we introspect, because it's in those moments that we recognize the difference between the ego that is demanding everything but nothing, just once, but can't put words to it, versus the space that goes, I know what I want. I want a glass of water. I know what I want. This would make me feel better. So a little bit of this work today is like navigating through that. And so even here, there's a lot of this deeper diving that's occurring for the energy deep within divine union in articulating that frustration point and navigating something that might be bothering you that's hard to put into words. Because when we feel something, when we're moving in a place of healing, when something's bothering us, we don't just let that bother articulate and weaponize. We put it into words so we can understand if it's valuable or if it's internal. Final card for today's spread between our Justice card and our Devil card. One card to clarify, please. This is what I mean. Do you see all this bop, 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 all this spiky energy today? The Justice card and the Devil card together? One card to clarify. Clarification. Because this read is off the charts today. We got the Lovers card here. Final card for today's spread. Well, yes, and the Lovers card, which is again, this is navigating the space of situations that are less than ideal, right? What do you do with a situation that's less than ideal? Do you throw your hands down? Do you throw a fit like a toddler? Or do you do you make the energetic best of it? And I see even now, the difficulty with this is something about for energy deep within divine union, navigating, trying to do, I'm getting here, you can please everyone all of the time. You can please some people some of the time. You can't please everybody. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're that's what's so frustrating is what I'm seeing here is trying to navigate that space of finding energetic peace and being it's one of those moments there's only so much you can energetically do, and I think that modality, remembering that, it feels like articulating, and the thing that's happening for the energy deep within divine union is, articulating and expressing one's own intentions, right? That's what I mean about how we heal is navigating, where our ego, where we're trying to check our own ego at the door versus what we feel is energetically best. The gift I'm seeing right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union is helping each other calibrate in that way, right? And what's beautiful here, I will say, and you see, this is the energy that says it's not that we're perfect, but at every moment, how do you find perfection? You incline towards what you feel that perfection is, right? You face what you can't face. It's in the moment. The danger zone is when you look at yourself and you go, I'm perfect. It's happened. Congratulations. It's like, no, no. Like, no, don't do that. It's in that moment of recognizing it's facing the imperfection that you become perfect. Because that constant, it's perfection is not a static state. It's something we chase after and we never catch. And it is the movement towards it that makes us energetically perfect. So this is a little bit of that work that we see that's happening right now, particularly deep within divine union. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that's recognizing the work that it takes to make something energetically perfect. And it feels like a mess. It feels like you're just, at every moment you're trying to fix something. But that's it. That's what a healthy union is. It's prioritizing repair work. It's prioritizing what that work is. It's doing, and the gift and when we say to one another, we love something, we love someone because we say you make it easy. It's because you say that work is the energy that is the burden shared, right? The work of two, more hands. There's more hands when you share something because it allows more of a freedom to be able to concentrate on other things in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is a lot of energy that's calibrating and finding one another by speaking towards the frustrations of what they were seeking to build with counterpart in the past. And even here, I see a lot of that energy, like not articulating the fact that they don't care about something from the past, but saying like, I'm not going back there because that wasn't energetically healthy. Like this is the energy that says that the present is the context by which we create, because it's the articulation of saying to one another, I recognize what I'm willing to change. I understand what is necessary to change in order to foster and build a more perfect energetic union. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, this, as we said, is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. I see that a lot of this energy right now, this is a little bit more like, remember, there's a little bit of like, this is where some of the deficit that we're seeing right now. For masculine, a lot of this frustration is coming in the channel or the spectrum of like creativity and passion. For feminine, it feels more like that sense of energetic frustration in the practical space. This is what I see even now, like the frustration of the feminine navigated to a certain extent, because this is a lot of the feminine energy that is feeling the force or viability of recognizing and understanding what doesn't necessarily feel like it's in balance, right? Like that observational point of frustration that is being communicated. This is almost the feminine energy, like speaking towards masculine and saying, I am frustrated because I have to handle a whole burden of fears that you don't even conceive of. They don't even enter your radar, right? And so to a certain extent, this is feminine feeling the frustration of feeling a little bit more of an energetically heavy load right now because of the energetic burden placed upon them in this way, right? And so there's something about that. And this is why I see even now the reason that the masculine is kind of the masculine building forth and healing with feminine is one that doesn't become prescriptive, right? Doesn't feel like that sense of saying like, I'm doing something to energetically protect you. This is the masculine that builds forth to the feminine saying, I know the way I protect you is I listen to you. I listen to what it is that makes you feel energetically safe instead of trying to tell you that what I'm trying to do is protect or make you safe. So we see even now, like there's a lot of that work that's happening here. And it's a little bit more frustrating right now for the feminine in the context of the tangible. For masculine, it's more via the passion space. That's where we find all of the energy today. Thank you so much. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, Strega.com. My private readings are done over video. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you would like to book a private reading with me, It is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Chariot card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. I cannot wait to teach this class with you. It's a very intriguing card. It's actually a card that's moved around in the deck for several times. If you would like to become a part of our live class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access into our live classes each month. Also, if you would like to, you will also have access to, if you've missed any of our previous classes, you'll have access to the full library of all of the previous classes that we've studied. That is about a repository of 8 hours worth of material right now for your review when you're ready to receive it. It's not necessary to catch up for each class. I will be giving a recap in each and every class, but the material is ready there for when you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward towards your own personal tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're already joining us there, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class on the 18th. But if you are a subscriber here to my TikTok, make sure that you head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel, because there you will find, in addition to a robust community where you can communicate with our other subscribers, you will also find a special coupon code that will give you an additional discount on those classes. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I post my weekly newsletter there that will let you know about my full live event schedule. You'll also have access to our giveaway information. Speaking of giveaways, we are currently in the process of holding our November giveaway. Next couple of days before you can enter, at the conclusion of entry. So if you'd like to potentially win a free private tarot reading with me, simply head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway, but if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I'll be gifting a reading not only to the person that wins, but also the person that referred them. So thank you so much if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own unique journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.